welcome into another episode of a Colorado Craft podcast from Mile High Bourbon and Rye. My name is Zach, and I am the host of the show. And today I am super thrilled to be joined by Brandon Perna. If you guys are Broncos fans like me, you have no doubt seen plenty of his content in the past. Brandon, thank you so much for joining me. How you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me, Zach. Where's my bourbon? I was told I would have bourbon as soon as the show started.
Well, I've tried really hard to email you this bottle, but
Oh yeah.
unfortunately, it just keeps failing to send.
I must be my Gmail account. Maybe I got an empty one, I think.
Oh, that's the problem. It was
It
too
was
much data to
empty.
send. That's a heck of a good bottle, though.
Dude, Breckenridge, they make good bourbon.
They really do. I've got, yeah, behind me here, a couple of theirs as well. Batch 1, 2, and 3 still
Nice.
set on the
Yeah.
shelf as well. So, gotta
Mine
represent the Broncos.
yeah, mine are empty. Maybe I have a problem, but and maybe that's the only way you can get through some of the Broncos games. I don't know.
Oh, man, the last, what, 6 seasons, 5 seasons? That's about the only way I've been able to get through them. It's been brutal having
Yeah.
to suffer through this team. Your series of the new worst games ever honestly kind of helped. It was cathartic
Good.
in a way.
Yeah. That's what I've gathered. And I think um other people enjoy watching someone be miserable about their team. So I wish I'd have learned that earlier, honestly, because I think I could have grown a lot more quickly had I realized that when we had Flacco and Keenum and whatever.
Yeah, one of the how many quarterbacks have we had now since Manning
I don't even
retired?
know.
Eight,
A lot,
nine,
too many.
10? Yeah. Way too many. So, well, Brandon, tell me a little bit. How'd you end up starting That's Good Broncos, That's Good Sports? What led to you kicking this off as a YouTube channel?
Um I was working for other YouTubers in Los Angeles for a company called Maker Studios. So I was editing and directing videos for other guys, and they were having a ton of success. And I wanted that. I was like, that looks way more fun than doing all the work. But then I took a path where I still did all the work. But watching other people do it in the space, it kind of gives you like a blueprint of what to do. And when I started back like in 2012, I think is when I actually started my channel. Um, there wasn't a ton of like sports YouTubers, so I thought, what's the thing like I could talk about during the week and edit a video about after editing, all day and working. I was like, well, I like talking about football and maybe we can do sports as a whole. And we tried as like a sports show early on, and I did it with a couple other comedians, Drew Lynch and Sam Comroe. And I don't know, we did like 8 or 10 episodes. But then everybody's schedules, it was too hard to kind of replicate that. And then I was like, I'm just going to talk about football. I'm just going to do the Broncos because that's what I really like.
Yeah.
And the first video I made was about Peyton Manning, and I guaranteed like he was going to sign with the Broncos. But then I got too scared to post it, and I should have because I was right. I was right
Oh, you
about
would
it.
have, man, you could have launched this like all the way to the top right from
Yeah,
the start.
I think I would have had success with my first video, which might have been a problem because I think you got to struggle for a while to kind of appreciate like your first video that does well. And then it was the Broncos Ravens game where Manning threw 7 touchdowns. Uh,
Yep.
I was I was in Colorado at the time. I was living in LA, so I watched that game and I was at my parents' house and I was just like, I just want to make a video about this. I was like, because that was crazy. So like I recorded like a janky video in their basement, found some clips on YouTube, which were hard to find at the time, and
Yeah.
put together the video. And that was like the first one that did well. And I was like, oh, there's something here of like recapping the game. And then just sucked at that for a few years and kept doing it and kept doing it until slowly like you build an audience and made that like my full-time thing in, I don't know, 2015 or 16, somewhere around there.
Okay. So I'm guessing the Super Bowl victory may have helped your channel out a little bit on that as well.
Yeah, that, I mean, so I just got a piece of ice. Now I'm gonna chew into the mic like an idiot. Um, I that if I could go back and do that season over again, I would, with like kind of like what I know now. But I went to Super Bowl 50 with Vic Lombardi to help him with videos for his channel. Uh,
Yeah.
so which was cool. Like I wouldn't trade that experience, but I should have been focused on making stuff for my own channel. And
Right.
during the Super Bowl, like I've talked about it on a lot of my pods, like I watched it from a Bennigan's parking lot outside of Levi Stadium because Vic swore he could get me into the game, and then he couldn't because security was so tight. So I had to sprint
Yep.
to a Bennigan's, which was like one of the only places that had TVs where I could watch it. And they put this tent up in the parking lot and then charge you like $110 to go in and watch it. You got 4 drinks and some of their food at this like buffet. So I sat in there with a bunch of strangers and watched it. And I think I went live on my phone like right after they won. But
Yeah.
like if I could redo it, I would have been live streaming that game, talking about it, reacting to it afterwards, and then making my own videos versus doing that for Vic. But the experience of
Yeah.
being there and everything was really cool. So I don't even think like that helped like my channel that much. And so
Really.
I wasted an opportunity, and I don't know when the next Super Bowl opportunity is going to be there again.
Well, I mean, we drafted Bo Nix, so it's right around the corner, right?
You're right. It's this season. You're
Yep.
100% right.
We're going. As long as that curse wheel can just hit the Chiefs every week, then we're set.
I got a new one coming, so hopefully it's as strong.
Okay. That makes me a little nervous, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
It's bigger. It's got to be better, right, Zach?
Yeah, that makes sense. Bigger's always better.
Yes. Texas would agree. So
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe
Well,
Texas teams will be exempt.
yeah.
Or does that curse them more?
I'm gonna go with the curses them more.
Okay.
I like that plan. I can't have
That's
C.J. Stroud and the Texans taking our spot in the Super Bowl this year.
okay. Oh, I like that.
Yep.
And that's the nice thing about a curse. Nobody actually knows how it works. So you can basically guess anything you want and you might be right.
Very well could be. And if this episode comes out and I end up being right, I'm gonna look like a genius.
You are.
Awesome, man. Well, so like watching all of your content and everything, I mean, it's obviously evolved a bit over the years and everything. You're doing a lot more videos, a lot more consistently, but I also kind of want to talk. You do some little bit kind of deeper dives into some of the stuff that's happening as well, some of the news stories around. Like, how do you end up going from just a, you know, I wanted to focus on sports, I'm just going to focus on Broncos, and now you're kind of back into focusing on football and paying a
Yeah.
little bit of attention to other sports as well.
Yeah, we dabble in other sports from time to. We have a WNBA video. Well, this is going up in September. So we did a WNBA video back in July, and that video did really well. Not too good. Insert whatever one you want.
Okay, yeah.
But basically, when after Manning retired, and after I think like the first Simeon and Paxton Lynch year, I started to notice like Broncos fans stopped caring around November when the Broncos were just kind of out of it. Maybe it was like that first year they were 9-7, they missed the playoffs. Maybe it was like 2 years after that. But I was like, I got to get another game plan for the rest of the season. I was like, and I had wanted to focus on the NFL as a whole for a while, but I was too loyal to the Broncos for a little too long in terms of like YouTube growth.
Yeah,
Um, and every time like I tried like a more broad NFL video, it didn't do well. And that's something that it just takes time on YouTube. Like if you're going to add something new to your channel, unless you have like some great idea, you got to give it time and you got to build a new audience like for that type of content, which I didn't know, but it came from a necessity of people just losing interest in the Broncos midway or late into the season. So
yeah,
that's why I started branching out to doing that. Now, like with the deeper dives and everything, I've been able to do that because my writing partner Will Keys, who's been with me for like 6 years now, maybe. He's incredible. Like he's a very talented writer, has a great knowledge of football and of all sports. So he can do the heavy lifting on those like long ass scripts that I don't want to do because like I'm usually editing another video or trying to work on something else. So like we've just upped the time we put into scripts, and he's really helped me be able to branch out in terms of like quality and consistency with the deep dives, or like if we're going to focus on a player or a season, like he leads there and then I go in and just, add all my dumb jokes and like nuggets or whatever that I'll remember. And then I have
Yeah.
an editor, Johnny Barks, who anybody follows the channel like closely should know Will and Johnny, but Johnny's taken a lot of editing off my plate over the last year, and he'll be working on a video. Sometimes we'll both edit the same video, or I'll work on one while he's doing another. So it's just allowed us to pump out more videos and explore more topics. And it's nice to be able to trust other people too, to make up for like your weaknesses. And I have many as like a creator. So they've made the channel so much better like over the last 2 years. I wish like I could just clone them and
Yeah.
just make more and more videos, but you know,
Oh, that's
cloning
awesome.
technology is just not there yet. I've looked into it.
No, it's coming along, but I have not seen the advances that I was promised, 10, 15 years ago. So,
Exactly. Where
I
are
mean,
where are flying cars, our cars that fly, and we need more clones.
right? And they had that whole like they cloned a sheep, I
They
feel like
did.
in the early 2000s, and then it just disappeared. Nothing ever
Yeah.
came of it.
They're like, what Pandora's box have we just opened?
And then
None.
clearly sealed it real quickly.
Yeah, that
Um,
they did.
no, that's really awesome to be able to grow to that point. I mean, how much time do you feel you were putting into it? Because I think you said you're doing most of everything just on your own when you started it. Just so you're doing the editing, the recording, the script writing, all of it. How much
Yeah.
time did you have to sink into that?
A lot. I mean, it's more time now than when I didn't have help, which is annoying.
Interesting.
Because like when you find like when you have help, then you just start working on the next thing or an additional video or whatever. But Will came along in, I wish I remember it was probably 2016. Will and I started 2016 or 17. So he's been helping me write for a long time. And we've just kind of grown together in those roles. But during like the football season, right now, I feel like I work anywhere from 60 to 80 hours every week. Like 60 would be like a light week during the football season. And it's hard to kind of gauge because I feel like I'm working anytime a football game's on. Even if I'm not like doing a video about that game, I'm still watching it and paying attention so I can talk about it on one of the live streams the next day. So uh, even with the help, I'm working on the next script or the next video. So, and when you can do all that stuff yourself, it's hard to kind of give up responsibility. But now I trust those guys so much. Like I don't want to do any of it myself anymore, but I still have to. So that's like the next goal is hopefully I can have like 2 editors and 2 writers, but I'm not there yet.
And then you're just the guy that gets to sit there and record it, talking to the microphone.
Yeah, I get to make the script a little bit dumber and then record it.
Yeah, hey, I mean, that sounds like a great plan to me.
Yeah.
One of the previous episodes I did, I was talking to 10th Mountain Distillery, and the guy's like, he's sitting there talking to me. He goes, everyone thinks that working for a distillery means your job is to just sit and talk about whiskey. But really, here's all the other stuff you have to do. And I
Yeah.
was like, well, yeah, my eventual goal is to be that guy that just gets to sit there and talk about whiskey. But long
Yeah.
way to get to that point before it can happen, because I'm in the stage right now where it's, trying to get everything together, get the guests, do all the editing on my own, do all the everything. And so I know that piece is a lot of work.
Yeah. And like, what's your day job?
I actually do IT for a school district in North Denver.
Okay. So
So
that helps a little bit because at least you're familiar with the tech tech side of what you have to do to create and make things. And if you don't know something, you can probably figure it out, right?
yeah, exactly. I mean, that definitely helps a lot, and the fact that it's a like I get to go out home at the end of the day, not like work in retail forever like I did before.
Sure.
I was a general manager for a store, so that's, sure it's a 50-hour a week job is what it said on paper, but then it's go home and do more and then do more and then do more. And now it's like, okay, I can actually put some work into this from here versus just being working full-time job all the time.
Right. And so your passion is whiskey and sports then, and you're
Oh yeah.
just
Yeah,
bringing
there's a
that to yeah, I see all the sports stuff. But like, are you more interested in making videos and talking about whiskey than sports?
So what I've found I actually enjoy talking about more is I always like to have the like some kind of whiskey beer focus throughout all of it. I love being able to talk the sports. I love being able to talk this, but what I've really found kind of is the most fun for me and seems to be kind of the most exciting conversations is being able to talk to kind of people who are creating stuff in or about Colorado. So
Okay.
previous episodes, I actually just did an episode that aired I think 2 months ago with a architecture firm, a guy who owns an architect firm that's based in Denver, and they focus on craft distilleries.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Right? I thought that was definitely pretty neat. I've had a Colorado-based photographer on the show. I talked to a friend of mine on an episode who does trail maintenance for the county of Boulder.
Okay.
So, like literally, if you're doing something, creating something in Colorado, yeah, and like exactly what you're doing, right? I assume you're Colorado based.
Yeah, I'm in Denver.
Yeah.
Denver
I
area.
mean,
I'm not in Denver
yeah,
at all, actually.
that's where I'm at too, is Denver area.
Yeah.
Um, but like being able to talk to people who are creating and doing stuff throughout the state, I found that ends up being a lot more interesting. And, I love talking to all the distilleries, all the breweries, and I'm going to
Yeah.
have a lot of episodes with them. But I also didn't want the show to just basically be the same thing every single episode. Like, hey, here's how we make whiskey. Here's what we're working on. Here's doing these things. I like to be able to talk to other people like you
Sure.
about, here's what I'm creating. Here's what I'm doing. And I think it's just it's a fun way to keep some shine on Colorado.
Yeah. No, I love that approach. I think it's smart. And I love whiskey too. So, like, this is, I find that very interesting because, like, when you do something in like the YouTube space and it's all football all the time, you find yourself like fantasizing about other types of videos you could be making. And definitely like whiskey is like one of those things like that would be a lot of fun. And then I'm like, what do I actually want to know more about whiskey or do I just enjoy drinking it? Would I ruin whiskey by trying to make videos about it? So I think it's smart you're keeping it broad and that way you don't get bored with the same subject, all the time.
Yeah. And the other nice thing is there's so much craft beverages in Colorado that,
Yeah.
like, not only just with the whiskey, I can try a whole bunch of stuff. I work a lot with Crazy Mountain Brewing in Denver. They're right
Okay.
off of Colfax and Ogden, right by the Ogden Theater. Great beers. They let me use their location for hosting guests for live, like in person recordings and
Oh,
stuff. So,
nice.
I mean, cool stuff like that. And then we can go down and have, instead of sharing a glass of whiskey, which is always a Colorado based one, I can have a glass of beer, or I'm actually going to try and talk to a couple wineries coming up as well soon. So,
Yeah,
keep it all craft focused.
that's really cool. Where
Yeah,
like the
and
wineries are they like Denver or are you going to go out to the western slope?
both actually. So my wife and I, we did right after we got married, we spent a long weekend, like 4 days, I think, up in Palisade area,
Okay.
and so
Nice.
like got to visit a whole bunch of the wineries out there. So that's just such a gorgeous part of the state as well. Being able to sit there, I think, set that up with the backdrop for an episode being the just Colorado mountains and a winery behind you would be on its
Yeah.
own just way cool.
Yeah, very cool. What's your favorite whiskey?
Oh, man. See, that's a tough one because it
I
really
know.
changes a lot based on so many different things, right? Season, what I'm doing at the time. Um, I think Talnua Distilling's Old Saints Keep, and specifically this year's release of it, is currently my favorite.
Okay. I don't know if I've had that.
So they're in Arvada. It's an Irish style. They were actually the first single
Oh,
pot still outside of Ireland.
yeah. I was I was actually just talking to somebody about them.
Oh, nice.
It was like at one of our family get-togethers, and somebody had just went in and checked it out, and okay, yeah. So that's the second time it's come into my zone of awareness, and now I'm going to have to get a bottle.
Yes, you absolutely will.
Cool.
It is
Yeah. So they're in
definitely a great
Arvada,
beer.
you said?
Yeah, basically
Right.
I-25 or sorry, I-70 and Sheridan. 25
Okay.
doesn't go that way. But
Cool.
yeah, so well then that kind of leads into mine. What I was actually thinking, since you said you enjoy whiskey, I'm sure you've had a decent amount of Colorado ones. What would you say is your best Colorado whiskey, like your personal favorite?
Ooh. Oh man. I like Laws, I like Breckenridge, and I like Stranahan's. Those are the three big ones, but they're the ones I drink the most.
Yeah.
It's tough. It would be between like the Laws bourbon or what's the Breckenridge? What's one of their cask ones they do?
Oh, they've got a Pedro Jimenez cask that is phenomenal. Their port and sherry finished options are both really good.
I don't think I've done. What's? Let me look it up. It starts with an M. Hell is it?
The M starts with an M. Trying to think what would be Breckenridge's that starts with an M.
It's
Madeira.
oh my. Yes, that one.
Yep.
That one's really
Took me a
good.
second.
I would say
Yeah,
that's
that
my
one's a
like my favorite. Like I don't know, the flavor in that so like robust. For a Colorado one, I do that. I drink more Scotch right now than anything, but
okay.
those are good.
Ooh, then I've got a couple that you're gonna want to try. I don't know if they've released it yet or if it'll be released by the time this comes out because this will be like beginning of September. Mile High Spirits downtown. They're right
Okay.
next to Coors Field. He's doing a peated single malt, so
Oh,
that would be
okay.
very Scotch style. And
Yes.
then Snitching Lady Distillery up in Fairplay is doing the same thing. He actually scooped
Oh.
up a ton of peat from around the state of Colorado and smoked the barley himself and then distilled it. So
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to try those.
yeah, I am very excited. I'm a little sad I haven't gotten to try. I was hoping to get a like little thief pour from the Snitching Lady one, but the barrel was up and tucked and behind and not
Uh,
accessible. So I was like, well, there was a chance, but I have tried the one from Mile High Spirits, and oh my gosh, if you like, especially you like the smokier style scotches,
yeah, I like it to taste like an ashtray. So yes,
excellent. That's the best kind of scotch, man. That's the way to go.
it
Then you'll
is.
definitely love that one.
Cool. That's
That is,
awesome. Those are great recommendations. I get
oh
excited
yeah,
about like a new scotch, so I will look for those.
and you still, they can't call it scotch, but it's the same style, same
Right.
smoky kind of
Yeah.
flavor. So then you get to keep it Colorado too, which is my whole goal here.
Yeah.
So then I'm curious, like, would your opinion on what you want to drink change after a loss versus a win?
um no, I haven't made the connection of mood to what I want to drink.
Fair.
Um and usually after a loss, like I'm so focused on working that I can't drown my sorrows. So I got to stay
Yeah,
sharp.
that
It's
makes sense.
usually on nights when football's not happening where I can, relax and have one. But I haven't linked that yet.
That's fair. And, that totally makes sense. And probably a good reason why I could never actually do the full time sports talking thing is because I'll get a little emotionally invested in those games before. And then by the end of it, I'm like, yeah, I need I'll have a pour to cool off, calm down, whether it's excited or disappointed.
Yeah. And what I've learned is like the confidence that comes with a drink. I if I do it like when I'm live streaming, if I have like one, it's fine. But if I have two, it's too much talking, and I start stumbling over my words. Even if like I don't have to be like super buzzed or anything, but I think I struggle enough speaking that any sort of hindrance of
Yeah.
to that is just it's a disaster.
Oh, I totally get that because there's a couple of times where I like not on the podcast episodes, but talking to folks at the distilleries or something, and I'm trying to get like a question out or get a point across, and I do the same thing. I kind of will stumble over if I've
Yeah,
had a couple of drinks, so it's like, well, gotta keep that in check while on
yeah.
the podcast
Like
episodes
I
for
don't
sure.
need to sound dumber, so
Right.
I'll
I can
limit it.
I can do that without alcohol. I don't need to
Exactly.
enhance that. That's awesome, man. So, I mean, really cool doing that. You've also got a coffee brand that I know you've pushed online as well.
Yeah.
Benchwarmer Brew, right? Is that yours or did you partner with somebody else for that?
Yeah, I mean it's mine. It's weird because there's a ton of I guess like creators who sell coffee now,
Mm-hmm.
and uh I didn't know that that was going to happen. But one of my friends started the company where they source all the beans and basically like white labeling.
Yeah.
I don't like to call it that because I mean it is that, but like I'm working with somebody I know, and that's the only reason I'm doing it. So it was a trusted person, and I basically had to kind of beg them to let me sell coffee because at the time, like my channel was smaller, and they were working with much bigger creators in the space, and you kind of need to have a very big audience to make selling coffee like actually profitable because there's so much cost that goes into it.
Yeah.
But I was like, I love like I'm passionate about coffee. I would like to sell something that I really like, and I tried the beans, the roasts that they could get, and I was like, these are really good. It's high quality, so I feel good about selling it. And they agreed, and they're like, maybe it can work if like you get some of other creators in the space. We can create like blends and stuff for them. And so that was kind of the approach there. I think, but for a long time, like we weren't selling many until I started selling these, and this
I,
was a dark roast. But I was like, oh, I needed a concept. I needed a
yeah.
shtick, and those did really well last year. So last year was like the first year where we were selling a ton of coffee, which was nice. But it's a tough business unless you've got millions of followers and you can get a ton of them to buy it. But
Yeah,
it's
that's
more of
fair.
a vanity
Hey,
thing at this point.
yeah. Well, and honestly, that label's great. I love every time it pops up. I'm like, yeah, I really like that label,
Yeah,
especially after any game that just doesn't go quite your way.
yeah, and there's a good amount of those where you can blame the refs. So
Yep. Just about
like,
every game, actually, I think, if you really try.
oh yeah, whatever team loses, there's going to be two calls they're definitely upset about.
Oh yeah, every time. That's awesome, man. So, um, I mean, I'm guessing that particular label, the fuck the refs label, that came about just from something like that, or how'd you come up with that being your hey, this is the label I'm gonna slap on some coffee?
Yeah, I think it was just like I don't know. Like anything that works, I felt on my channel or like this is just like a whim. I'm like, oh, if we just did fuck the refs as a blend, that would be funny. And I needed like I wanted to add like a dark roast that was mine because urinating tree has a dark roast. His blend is the armchair blend, and
I didn't
people
even
kept
realize he
asking
had
like,
coffee.
what's that? Yeah, he's got one 5 points. Cole DeRuse, who's a Chiefs guy, he's got a really good blend. Um, but it was mostly like I needed a dark roast, and I found the roast I wanted, and then I was like, "What do we call this?" I was like, "Let's just try this," and it worked. It's the same
Nice.
with the new worst episodes. Like I was at the Colts game with a friend, with Drew Lynch actually, who was one of the guys I started Desk of Sports with, and the game
Yep.
was just like it was so boring. Like I had
Oh
fun. It
yeah.
was fun going. Was like I was like I've never been so bored with football at a live football game. And so like I came home and I was like, that was the worst game I've ever watched in my head, like in person. It's like, let me just call
Yeah.
it the worst game ever and talk about how terrible it was. And that video, like it popped. I was like, oh, okay. So there was something there. So it's never
Yep.
like all my good ideas are never things like that I think about. And I'm like, this is the thing. Anytime I think I have a good idea, video tanks, the concept fails. But if it's something I'm just like, we'll try this, that's the one that works. So that was the same thing with like fuck the refs. It's like that might be
That's
funny.
but that's actually kind of hilarious. It kind of makes sense, right? Because it's the stuff that just you sort of chuckle about, and then
Yeah.
other people start chuckling about it, and then it blows up.
Yeah. I wish I was smarter and I could identify like a really good idea. I think that's what like the best YouTubers in the space do. I just don't know if I'll ever be there.
I also wonder how many of them you think maybe got their first idea sort of on a whim, and then when it grew a little bit, they were
Possibly.
able to recognize it. I bet you
Yeah.
there's a little bit of that at least.
Yeah. I want to see more of them recognize it and be
Yeah,
like, I got a little lucky. That'd make me feel better.
that'd be nice, right?
Yeah.
All right, so like at the Indianapolis game, obviously that game 100% not a
Not fun.
entertaining football game. What was the most entertaining Broncos game you've been to?
Oh, that I don't go to a lot of games. So that's tough. But um I was at the game where Shanahan iced Janikowski and the Broncos won. So that was pretty cool. And everybody around me thought like, the Raiders won on that kick. I believe it would have been a game-winning kick, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And
I know which one you're talking about.
I was paying attention to like the sideline. I was like, no, guys, wait. And so like we didn't know exactly what even happened. And then afterwards, like it became a thing, like icing the kicker after Shanahan called that timeout. So that was a cool one to be at. Just because like,
That's pretty
oh, we
awesome.
thought we lost, and then no, we didn't. Suck it, Raiders. You lost.
And anytime you beat the Raiders, that's always a
Yeah.
good day.
Yeah. It was
Always
a,
a good day.
a long field goal too, I think.
I don't remember how long it was. I do remember that game specifically though, because I that one I just watched from home. But I absolutely remember seeing that kick go up and go in. And then the announcers are like, wait, they called a timeout. And I said, there's like, great, now we get to lose twice in a row, basically. And then he missed it. And I was like, no way, that did not
Yeah.
just happen. That was a cool game.
It was a great call by Shanahan for sure.
Man, that guy was such a good coach.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Miss Shanahan.
Man, so my personal favorite one, and I lucked into this one. I got tickets to it through former boss at my previous job, but he gave them to me. He's like, "Hey, store's got to do inventory this day, so I have to be here. I can't go. Here's two tickets. Go watch this playoff game against Pittsburgh with Tim Tebow and Demarius Thomas." And so I was sitting on the 50-yard line when that
Oh
pass went
wow.
over to DT and just got to watch that. I was a little bit higher up, but like watch that whole thing go.
Yeah.
I've I've never seen the stadium that loud. Like not since, not before. And I get to go to maybe a game a year if I'm lucky is about what I try to go to.
Okay.
And that was just the most wild,
That's one to be
wild
at.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you can even pick a better game to have attended.
No,
Just the
that
way
that
that
really is.
that ended the moment in time that game is like Tebow, he wasn't going to do anything after that game, like we know now in hindsight, right? And
Yep.
uh, like Demarius Thomas catching that pass, and just that whole year was crazy. So that like conclusion, you could argue like maybe that's the best game to best Broncos game to attend live. That's not like a Super Bowl, right? Like a home game that you can
Yeah.
do in your stadium. Yeah, so
Yeah.
you
I
won.
mean,
You
that
went
was
to the best
just,
game ever.
yep, I know. I kind of lucked into that one, but I will never forget that moment. And then leaving that stadium too, like, everybody's walking, the streets packed as everybody's trying to get back to either their cars or walk to wherever they're going. There's just such a buzz, and it felt like it was the entire city was just
Yeah.
electrified from that. So that was way cool.
Yeah, I bet. And were there a lot of Steelers fans there for that game?
A decent amount,
Yeah.
actually. Ironically, part of the reason why I lucked into the tickets is because my boss, his daughter or stepdaughter, was a Steelers fan, and so
Okay.
he was going to take her, and then had to end up staying for work, so asked me to take her instead. So I had to tone it down a skosh. I didn't want to totally rub it in her face.
Yeah, there's no reason to be a dick, but
Yeah.
it's nice, like, because Steelers fans, they they're everywhere. They
Oh
say
yeah,
they
they are.
travel well, but Steelers fans like to just say that we are everywhere. And so knowing that there's a good amount of Steelers fans there to watch that also feels good.
Yeah, I remember seeing so many towels. I was like, I mean, still outnumbered. Broncos fans were the
Yeah.
majority, but there were so many towels whipping around. And I was like, man,
Yeah.
I really hope they win. And then when they went to overtime, that's when you start to get that pucker and you're like, oh no,
Yeah.
what's going to happen? But pulling that off was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. Just an insane finish.
Really was. Really was. Um, Hello, everybody. Before we continue today's show, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor and every sponsor of a Colorado Craft podcast, Centennial Cuts. Centennial Cuts is some of the best beef that you will have, that I have had, that anybody will have, hands down ever. All sustainably grown right here in Colorado. You can pick up their products online at centennialcuts.com or at their shop down in Colorado Springs. They are moving to a little bit more online focus, so be sure to check them out. Like I said, centennialcuts.com. You're going to find roasts, you're going to find briskets, you're going to find steaks, you're going to find all beef hot dogs, you're going to find beef jerky, summer sausage, which I have been munching on all summer long. You're also going to find dog treats for your pets. There's so many options to choose from, so many delicious cuts of meat that you are going to find exactly the best cut to kick off your football season this year. So check out centennialcuts.com. Use promo code MHBR at checkout for 10% off your first order. That can be off of a bundle, that can be off of a single steak, that can be off of a whole bunch of beef jerky so that you and all your friends can munch on some delicious Colorado grown beef as you watch, hopefully, the Broncos win some games these upcoming Sundays. So thank you very much, Centennial Cuts. Be sure to head out to centennialcuts.com, use that promo code MHBR, and now let's get back to the rest of the show. I'll take a minute rather to acknowledge, what was that about drinking a whiskey while trying to do a podcast? Bad idea. Yeah. Take a minute to acknowledge Centennial Cuts, sponsor of the show. They're awesome, all Colorado beef, Southeast Colorado, all finished on distillers grains and brewers grains as well. So all the spent grains, they end up getting them when they're donated out. Finish the beef on that. Some of the best hamburgers, some of the best steaks you'll ever have. They've got hot dogs, beef jerky, the whole thing. So we'll cut in a little bit more, but check them out if you can. Go to centennialcuts.com, use code MHBR on your order, save 10% off the order, and help support, me growing into something with a few extra followers here in the future. So cheers to them. And let's see. What else do I want to ask you about? Because I mean, watching your channel kind of evolve and grow, watching all of that happen, it's been wicked exciting, wicked cool to watch. You partnered a lot with Packers guy as well, Tom. I don't know how to say his last name.
Tom Grossi. Yeah, yeah.
It is Grassi. Okay. Those
No, it's
episodes
just
are always really fun.
yeah. No, Tom and I like similar path on YouTube. He started Packers focused. I started Broncos focused, and then you kind of just branch out talking about the NFL as you kind of grow. And Tom's an insane person. Is the only way I can like describe him in terms of like work ethic. I work really hard, and I always thought like I would outwork anybody. but not. I'll never work as hard as Tom. Like he's just a guy who grinds and eats, breathes, and sleeps making YouTube videos, and so like I've got so much respect for his approach and like admiration for like somebody who just put in all the time to grow. And it's cool because we've like grown at the same time together. So doing the
Awesome.
show, we call it GPS, so Grossi Perna show. We do it like 3 mornings a week, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We just talk about football for an hour, and the live community there has been like awesome. And so like just doing that's a lot of fun, and it's easy. It's very little planning. We just go in and shoot the shit, and just very little planning, and it's easy, and people like it. So like people are watching, so it's
Yeah.
nice.
Well, if it's very little planning, then I mean, that's got to be awesome because then you don't have to worry about trying to put everything together. How did you end up how did that end up becoming a partnership as it is?
Um, Tom had me on his podcast years ago when he was first starting out, because he would talk to like a fan of the opposing team every week that the Packers were playing, I believe. And I got recommended to him through Reddit as like the Broncos fan to talk to. And so we kind of just hit it off like chatting. And then we chatted again the next year. And then um, we kept in contact after that. And then we had started discussing like doing a show together. And we were supposed to start in 2020, but we were about to have our first child, my wife and I. And then I chickened out. I was like, I can't have a kid. I can't do this show 3 days a week. There's like, I was just worried about learning to be a dad and maintaining YouTube. So we started a year later than we intended. But I don't even really remember like when we decided we should do something together like that. Just a conversation at some point must have been like, we should do this together. Like, yeah, that'd be super cool.
I
We just
mean,
figured it out.
that's actually really awesome. I think the kind of like partnerships where you really have no idea when it just sort of became.
Yeah, it was nice. And like I knew Tom was working hard. Um and for me it was like if I'm going to do a show multiple days a week, I want to work with somebody who I know is going to show up and be there for every single episode that we do, and Tom was definitely like the guy for that. Um, and I think we were also seeing like McAfee succeeding with his live show. And it's like, well, why don't we try and pool both of our audiences? It's obviously not the same scale, but if we stream to both our channels at the same time, maybe there's like something there.
Yeah.
And um, it's taken time. It's grown slowly, but like I said, like the live consistent audience in the community is awesome. And like I look forward to it during the season, just to like it's the same way like you watch a sports game, right? And then the next day, if you're around people you work with that you like talking about it, or the next time you hang out with your friends to talk about it, it's just like after the game Sunday, I love just talking to Tom about football, like what we saw. It's very organic, and that's why it doesn't need a lot of planning. We have like a rundown that we do on a Google Doc about 30 minutes before the show starts. But since we both make so many videos throughout the week, like we know all the shit that's happening. So it's
Right.
nice to have like the knowledge of what's going on in the NFL like every day. So that's also why it works.
That's I mean, that's way cool. I love the idea of being able to do exactly that, right? Just sort of have the organic conversation versus trying to make it too much of kind of a scripted idea.
Yeah.
I think it makes it more fun for the audience too. And then you said, the community, good grief, there I go again. The community with the sports. So one thing I found, especially with whiskey in Colorado, and I say this a bunch of times, but is that like the community, everybody really kind of is just awesome to talk to across the
Yeah.
board. Sounds like maybe the sports community tends to be a similar kind of situation.
Yeah. Um it's very positive, and it keeps you motivated, and I think it forces, at least for me, to like try and keep everything up to a certain standard. Like I like to joke about, how shitty our jokes are sometimes or all the time and other things, but like I don't ever want to make a video that's bad because I don't want to let down the people who have been like supporting the show for that long and the people who donate money with like super chats or have supported on Patreon or through the memberships, like the people who buy coffee and uh sign up for sponsorship, like the sponsorships we do, buy those products, like all those people are rocking with you. So it's like, in addition to them being positive and cool and showing up and keeping you like motivated, you have like a responsibility to not let them down. And like that definitely is like a motivator. Like I never want to put out a video that they're like, what the hell are you doing? Like you didn't even try in this one or something like that. And I don't think we've done that. And sometimes you miss the mark on a topic of a video or whatever, and that's fine. But yeah, it's like I think the best way to put it is like they keep me honest.
That's fair. That's awesome. I mean, I would definitely say, at least from my perspective, you have not done that. You've not fallen short of kind of the effort you've put into the videos I've seen so
Oof.
far.
Thank you. I
I still
appreciate
remember
that.
the episode right after Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles last season, and you mimicked what you would have done in that
Uh,
situation versus just calmly standing up. And man, I was sitting at the office at work, and I straight up I snorted
oh,
laughing,
nice.
like just so hard. And everyone looks over at me. They're like, "What?" I'm like, "Just come watch this guy."
A snort is the best compliment you can give somebody who's trying to get a laugh, I think.
Right?
The funny thing about that is there's so many people like, you know what? Actually, tearing your Achilles doesn't hurt that much. I was like, shut up.
I I don't know. I've seen this. Oh man, and I
Yeah.
regret that I've ever seen this, but I saw the slow mo video once of when it pops, and I'll
Yeah.
never get that
Rolls
image
up.
out of my head. Yep,
Yeah.
and that does not look like it feels anything less than absolute misery.
Yeah. No, that's what I remember. Like all these tough dudes, like, it doesn't really hurt. Okay. That
Yeah.
wasn't really the point, but I'm glad you like that because I thought that was a decent bit.
It definitely, and I wasn't expecting it to happen either, and that's, I think, part of the other reason is, you're just kind of watching the video and then you blast out like that, and I was like, what, just took me off guard, made me bust up laughing. That one was great.
Yeah, that's like a genuine like observation too. Is like Roger seems very very cool for a guy who just tore his Achilles. I was like he handled
I
that very well.
Yeah,
like a
well,
very, if you're going to use the term, like he handled that like a man, he definitely did.
right. That was crazy. Just kind of calmly stand up, then calmly sit back down and
Yeah.
call him over. I'm like,
Yeah, it's
no
not
way.
good, guys.
Yep. There's no way I would be that calm.
No. No.
That's yeah. So, man, I've definitely enjoyed and like I said, enjoyed all your videos and everything. Really appreciate you coming on. I guess one last question: if you ended up having to, let's say the NFL shut down, what sport would you end up going to?
Ooh. I mean, I would probably abandon sports and go to movies, maybe, or like television movies, some direction there. Um, but if I were going to go to another sport, it would probably be the NBA.
Okay.
It's I like hockey when I watch it, but I think the NBA is easier to follow for new audiences and new fans. Um,
Oh,
and it's just
the NHL does not do itself any favors trying to grow that audience, man. They
yeah,
do not.
and it's like, and they're both like they're broad in terms of like hockey's played in a lot of places like outside the United States, right? But like
Hmm.
the NBA, I think is just it's got a little more global reach. So I would probably go with basketball. But it, if football died, like I would get away, I think, from sports, do something
That's fair.
completely different,
That's totally fair.
get into
And
mountain
well,
biking and just do that or some shit.
you mean you'd be healthy if football went away? That's crazy talk,
Yeah.
man.
I would like that.
Yeah, that's fair. Mountain biking seems like a good alternative to
Yeah.
talking about football. That's awesome. Sweet, man. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I really appreciate you being able to come on. I think this has been really cool kind of insight because everything I see is, the videos that you put out. It's neat to see sort of kind of the thought process behind a bit of it and a little bit of the behind the scenes, so to speak. So I really appreciate you talking to me and joining me for this episode.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, Zach.
This has been absolutely awesome. So I'm sure anybody who's tuning into this, they probably all already know where to find you. But go ahead, let people know like where can they follow? How can they support you? How can we keep growing your channel?
It's That's Good Sports on YouTube. That's the best
Awesome.
way. This is, I think, Twitter and Instagram is at Brandon Perna, but That's Good Sports on YouTube. Just subscribe there if you haven't. And if you subscribe there and you don't like the videos, just stay subscribed.
Right, leave the subscription.
Yeah, just don't watch anymore. Just I want that number. Just I got to see that number continuing to rise.
Yeah, that's the trick, man.
It's an addiction.
We'll get. I don't know. The way you say that makes me a little nervous to try and grow the YouTube channel. Then, like,
Yeah.
once I start seeing it tick, am I gonna be the same
You're
way
gonna-
and just be like,
You're not going to be satisfied. You're gonna be like, what else do I need to keep doing?
I need those views,
Exactly.
I need those subscribers.
I'll sell my soul for more.
I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a subscriber today.
Exactly.
No, that's awesome. So definitely go give Brandon a follow. That's good sports. You will enjoy the videos. You'll subscribe and then you will enjoy them if you enjoy
Zach's
sports.
words,
If you
not
are a
mine.
Broncos fan. Oh yeah.
Zach's words.
100%. So, like I said, thank you again. If you guys are enjoying my videos, listening to them on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those, hit subscribe, hit like, what is it? Hit the notify button on YouTube. I'm still trying to get used to all these things you got to do. And, help support the show that way. Ratings, reviews all help out. And just word of mouth, share us around. So you can also support the site by going to milehighbourbon.com/shop. From there, you can purchase glassware. You can purchase smoked salts. You can purchase... actually, I got some new things coming soon. If this is airing in September, I might have them then. Otherwise, they may still be in the pipeline at the moment. But you can get nice glassware, really solid rocks glass. And then also keep your eyes out. Actually, you know what? I can announce this because it's airing in September. We're going to have a tasting event. September 19th, come up to Satire Brewing. You can get links to purchase tickets in the description. Lock & Co. Distilling is coming up. Get yourself some tickets to come taste a bunch of their whiskeys and a cocktail. Hang out at Satire Brewing. You can get a beer and some of their absolutely delicious food. And then you get to go home with a commemorative tasting glass as well. So come hang out, try some good whiskey, and enjoy that event.
Buy those tickets now. Do it.
Yes, do it right away. And as with everything, revenue from that, revenue from sales on the website, as always, parts of all of it will go to local Colorado charities. I will always make sure that I give back at least a little bit from this site, as much as I can, and make sure that we're supporting Colorado top to bottom at all times. So, one more shout out to our sponsor, Centennial Cuts. Thank you for sponsoring this, and to Roma Ransom, who records the intro and outro music for us. So thank you very much. Brandon, hopefully that email comes through with the full bottle of whiskey this time. I am sorry that it dropped and only got you an empty bottle, but I'll get that IT brain on it, and we'll start working on sending those.
I'm disappointed, but I will forgive you. So
I appreciate that.
As long as I get it.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Cheers. Oh, damn. That was the last question I had for you. We're going to plug this in at the very end. What's your prediction for the season?
I feel like 6 wins is my prediction. And I'm just going lower. I've been optimistic every single year to a fault. And I like Bo Nix with Sean Payton. I think that's the right fit. It was the pick I wanted. I think the team's just got a lot of things to figure out. It's going to take some time, but I think we're going to feel good about the 6 wins. at the end of the season. It's going to look like it's clicking later in the season, and we're going to be like, okay, this is our guy. We can build on this. We'll have our salary cap back. We've got all our draft picks that we need. So we'll be optimistic. The record's not going to be good, but we're going to feel okay as Broncos fans. That's my prediction.
And I like that because I'm actually of a very similar mind. I was thinking 5 was where we were going to cap it out, so a little worse. But I had the exact same thought, was we'll know for sure that Bo Nix is going to be a solid, continual NFL quarterback. We have a piece that we can build around versus this constant carousel of doom.
And if he's not, if he looks terrible, draft the next guy. It's that simple.
Yep.
It's easy when you draft a quarterback and he doesn't work out, and it's not a guy you gave up a bunch of draft picks and money for. We had to learn the hard way there. So
yeah, George Payton definitely, I hope, learned his lesson with that.
I think he did. I'm going to cut George some slack, but for one more year. So too.
Right?
Then he's gone if he lets me down again.
If he goes into the next draft, we're terrible, we don't feel good about Nix, and he doesn't take a quarterback, you're out of here, buddy.
You're out of here. You're so done. You're so done, George.
We're going to be calling for your head even more than Monfort's.
Yeah.
Although I think people have just given up. That's apathy now more than anything else, but
they've accepted their fate.
Poor Rockies. All right. Well, Brandon, thank you again. And once again, cheers to everybody for joining us in. This was another episode of a Colorado Craft Podcast by Mile High Bourbon and Rye. And looking forward to another one. Yep.
I'm cheersing
Bottles
you
on the
too.
way. Awesome.
See ya.